So recently, since I've been getting up there in age, I've been really warming up carefully, doing some stretching and mobility, starting from my neck, very important, right? I've had some serious injuries in my back in the past for not doing enough, yeah? So I have to warm up, I have to get my body loose, and actually it really affects my performance in the kata, when I do it this way. So I take my time, 10, 15 minutes, sometimes even longer, just to warm up. So to feel loose, especially if I'm working all day, sitting down, not had a lot of movements like today. It's almost 9 p.m. and I'm just starting my training, so my body is a little stiff. Everything, my spine, upper, thoracic, mid, lower, elbows, shoulders, wrist, forearms. Okay, maybe sometimes good also to start with a small run, but yeah, just starting slowly. I try to start the stretching first. It's good to start with a movement that will get your blood pumping. So what I do, I just work on my mobility, general mobility a little bit, some movement slowly. Then I'm gonna start with some kihon slowly. And then as my body starts to get warm, I start to go faster. Okay, go faster, increase the range, and so on. Sometimes when I start the training, I have a certain idea of what I want to do, but as I start, I feel like maybe I should focus on something else, So I was gonna focus maybe on more pushing movement, but now I'm thinking maybe I have not worked on my hikites for a few days, so I'm gonna work on that. And maybe then work on think about the shoulder blade also, okay? So these are the thoughts that are going through my head currently. So I've trained with many great karate teachers and senseis. And the main difference between training in Japan and outside of Japan is that in Japan, people do few things, but each thing many times in one training. Outside of Japan, people do many times, but each thing few times. See the difference? So in Japanese, people really focus about depth, you know? So I try to incorporate that in my training. Even if the whole training is just 1 or 2 exercises, then it is what it is, you know? But I try not to move on till I feel at least a little bit of what I'm trying to get out of the exercise, rather than just do too many things. And this applies to my Kihon training or my Kata training. Yes. The intensity of the training depends on how I feel that day. Some days I don't do very intense training. It's more technical work. Some days a combination, some days very intense. This really depends on many factors, how I'm feeling this day, the previous day's exercise, what I'm planning to do the next day. Yeah, I think one of the mistakes I used to do, and many people say when they get older, is trying to go hard every day. Eventually, your body's gonna give up. You have to periodize, you know, between intensity. You have to respect both intensity and volume, you know? So, yep. So, usually when I'm training, I try to train maybe a couple of exercises for my upper body and few for my lower body. And what I do, I alternate between these, right? So I'll do like one lower body, followed by an upper body, and then followed by a lower body again, or vice versa, right? Just to give my body some short break before I go back to hitting the same area. So I'm gonna work on some stepping exercise. I really believe that the connection to the floor is very important, and your dachis are the base of all your techniques, so they need to be super strong and powerful. So I'm gonna start. Just like you did with the hands, with the legs also, you want to start slowly, you know? So you don't pull anything, you know, there are some big muscles in your legs. Safety is very important, right? I see many young athletes, they come to train, they don't really warm up and they just start, right? They're late to training, maybe they just don't have much time. But one injury could cause you a lot of time of sitting down, and then you will really be losing time. So I really suggest you take your time to sweat, start feeling warm, full range of motion before you go fast. In general, when I'm doing my kihons, I do the same number of sets on left and right. Because, you know, as we do the kara, certain moves are one side dominant. For example, when we're jumping usually this way in Shorakan or off of the left leg and so on. So at least by doing a lot of kihon, you can balance the muscles a little bit. Because of course, after a while, you'll get some muscle imbalances, right? Because you're stressing so much on one side. Yes. Hi. So one of the things I notice a lot that people do is they drink a lot of water between their sets. I remember one of my great senseis, somebody I trained for a few years, Sensie Nikufari, used to tell me this is such a waste of time, because what ends up happening when you get tired, you just jump to the water, you know, and it does waste a lot of time. I try not to drink between the sets. Like, for example, if I'm doing 3 sets of something, I try not to drink between them afterwards, you know. Yeah, I live in a country that the climate is very hot and you need to drink water and so on, and I've trained in Thailand also where it's very humid. But I think people overdo it, you know, because every time you step out, you go drink water, come back, it takes you a few minutes, right, to get back in the mood. So usually what I do, for example, I have a knot on my hamstring, so I'm using the time between the sets to, you know, roll it out and so on, right? Just don't, I think people overdo this break thing and drinking water. I don't believe in it. Yeah, you should be hydrated, but people overdo it. This is what I believe. When you can take a break and people tend to, right? And you end up wasting really a lot of time. One thing you need to do while you're exercising, and it's difficult maybe when you're alone, is you really need to push yourself. And you need to be focused, not just train like a machine. What am I trying to achieve? Where should my thought be? On which leg? What am I doing? Not just train. 2 people could be training the same amount of time. One becomes really good and proficient, and the other one is average. Why? Because one of them has a plan. He's focused while he's training, while the other is just randomly training. Right? One of the main pillars of deep training, deep practice is before you go training, you have to have a target, and during training, it should be uninterrupted. Okay, try to turn your cell phone off. I usually, if I do anything, I just listen to music and I put it on airplane mode, and I don't pick up when I'm training. Right? This will make a big difference for you, really. Hi. Many people, when they train, they do their training, they never sweat, or they don't have any difficulty when they don't face any difficulty. You see, I was struggling with this last set. Each training has to be challenging. Not only physically, many people also, they just go and kill themselves. You have to challenge yourself mentally. There's a certain rhythm, certain movements behind one another. You have to finish the first one before you start the second one. Every training has to be mentally challenging and physically challenging also. Otherwise, you don't grow. You know, if you're in your comfort zone, you don't grow. I'm really having a hard time. I've not been very good with my strength and conditioning, so my body's a little bit tired, but we keep going into the last set of the same exercise. Let's go. Ha! Leg is burning. Support leg is burning. Now I'm starting to sweat, as you see. Getting into the exercise. A lot of pressure. I don't like the way my stances look. That means I'm like losing some of my mobility around the hips, I think, and the ankle. I don't like the dachi. I need to work on it more. Yes, more. Mirror is a good coach. You can see yourself in the mirror, you know. So maybe I'm gonna work on Goju Shosho after I'm done with the Kihon. So what I do, I do some Kihon that's related to the kata I'm gonna work on. So I start with a basic general Kihon, and as I go into my kata training, let's say I'm gonna do Goju Shosho after, I'm gonna start now with some Kihon related to some moves in Goju Shosho. So I link everything together. To understand more about each of these exercises, you can follow me on this YouTube channel, or you can follow us on our Instagram, oman.karate, where actually I take a lot of these exercises and I'm explaining exactly what I'm doing. Since this is a training session, I don't have time to explain every exercise and what it is for, but once you follow us on the Instagram, you will understand what we do each of these for. Hey! Hi. I think this is gonna be the last exercise. Feeling tired. It's late. You know, you have to get to the point where you really start to question, why am I doing this? I should be doing something else. But yeah, this is, you know, you have to forge yourself into a real warrior, you know? So guys, this is the end of the Kihon session. I usually train Kihon almost maybe 3 to 4 times a week. Usually it's a little bit longer, but today the training is late, so I think it was like 30 minutes maybe to 40 minutes. I do different exercises. See, I'm a little tired. So we're gonna end the video here. I'm probably gonna go work on some other katas, maybe Sochin or Gurusho. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, you wanna see anything more, please let me know. Thank you everybody, and us.